Hello and welcome to Third Eye Africa TV, and we want to look at security. Very, very vital. If Nigeria or any other country must survive, if Nigeria or any other country must develop, there has to be security. And like it's always said, all hands must be on deck. How is it like with Nigeria today when we're talking about insecurity, terrorism, banditry, violent crimes here and there? How can Nigeria come out of this? And at the point, President Trump of America will say he has to intervene in Nigerian situations, and we've started seeing some signs. Is it right? Again, we've had some instances where some people will feel that there has to be some amnesty for terrorists. Some have been tried and jailed. We have seen that Katsina State is dancing a dance that some people are questioning. Katsina is trying to forgive these people. Is it right? Can Katsina State government do it all alone without the federal government? Are we operating different laws? We want to look at all of this and even the modality in terms of the fight against terrorism in Nigeria. We'll look at that with an expert. I'm talking of Larry Imoukhuede.
That's
Thank you for
right.
coming to Third
Nice
Eye
being.
African TV.
Thank you. Nice being here. Thank
My
you.
name is Ben Adam Shaman, and of course, even though this is within the confines of our democracy, but we
Yeah,
want to talk security. So,
absolutely.
when you gauge Nigerian security today,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, give us a holistic but in a brief way the security architecture in this country. Are we getting it right?
I'm trying to be very, very measured. But if you have a problem like we have, and you try to sugarcoat it, and you don't say, put it in the right perspective and offer the right solution, we'll be dodging the solutions. I mean, we'll be hiding the facts, the obvious facts of what solutions should be and the remedies, the necessary remedies. Yes, in that regard, no, we're not doing the right things yet. We're not doing the right things yet. If I look at your question, if I think when you talked about Casina, the typical case of Casina, and the offer of is it amnesty?
Some
Some
amnesty,
kind of no. I think
setting them free.
no. That is very, very, very wrong. I'll tell you why it is wrong. You see, in security matters, and when it comes to negotiations, you negotiate from a position of strength. You don't negotiate from a position of weakness. If you put all the happenings in perspective, from the engagement with our military, the ambushes, all the various ambushes and whatever, and the kind of casualties, I mean, that has been evidenced from our engagements. It's like we are trying to appease these so-called insurgents. It is never done. If you do that, you allow them to dictate the narratives. That is what you are offering them. You are because it's like a man who bows to blackmail. They blackmail you today, you pay. When he runs short of cash, he's going to come back to you again. You know, to say, "Oh, I have this thing against you. If you don't pay, I'll do this." That's what we are doing, and I don't. I think we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
In my opinion, yeah.
Yes, because one is actually worried at the point they said there had to be a kind of a meeting, and these terrorists came in well armed And they said they were doing some peace talks. They came with arms, came with some trucks, gun trucks, and in the end they left with controlled items, left with money, and so they had nothing to lose. Whereas the Katsina people were losing.
You see, it goes back to my earlier statement. They are dictating the narratives. And whosoever, and I say it with every sense of responsibility, the government official that even canvassed this as an opinion, it's wrong. It's wrong. Yes, we understand applying non-kinetic strategies, but you don't do it from a position of weakness. You apply it from a position when you are the one dictating the terms. When the firepower, is in your, it's to your advantage. And then the people you are dealing with are the ones who will be calling for amnesty. Say, please, please give us another chance. You cannot be the one right from the onset when you are the one who is suffering all the losses, when you are the one who is holding the short end of the stick. And then the first thing you offer, say, oh, okay, at their own term. At their own term. Now,
Now,
it's,
is the reason some of them give are that they've shown some remorse, they have been jailed, but some people say, look, even when in jail, they've not even served their jail terms.
that's right.
And but that there's the need for there to be a communal kind of a livelihood. More so, some of these terrorists have hindered people from going to their farms.
It's not even that. You see, the narrative is kind of skewed. Skewed in the sense that it's like the victims are sacrificial lambs. Because if you are talking about, oh, they spent some time in jail, what about the thousands, the hundreds of people who've been killed? What about the millions who've been dispossessed? What about the ones who are in the IDP camps and what have you? Who speaks for them? Because the impression you are giving is that the government is serves the interests of these bandits or whatever you want to call them. That's what it means. Because the majority of other people who've been assaulted, who've been killed, who've been dispossessed, nobody speaks for them. So that's why I say we are negotiating from a position of weakness. It's never done. You can't win that way.
Then the other reason is the fact that those in jail, if they are released, that attacks will also cease in the area. Should the Katsina state government be negotiating and handling this when it ought to be that of federal
What
government?
guarantees do they have? What guarantees were offered? Because first of all, you're talking about some guys that call some fringe elements. Either it's doctrinal or religious or whatever they believe in. They have majority of them who are outside. Are you saying there will be no form of interaction once they leave you, once they are released? And even if can you guarantee that? Because by the time they come out, they are seen as heroes. Now you integrate them into the mainstream. How do you police their activities? How do you monitor their interactions? With the main body, whatever group they belong to. You can't give guarantees on all those things. And then if they are released, it's like we live in a democracy, and then it means they are guaranteed all the freedoms and rights that comes from being a citizen. So,
Now, let's put it this way: if they are released,
yes.
what does it say about the judges that sentenced them? What do we say about those who went with prosecution, impeccable evidence, and in terms of justice for victims, in terms of justice for society? Don't you think too? These guys will now be pursuing these guys, those who
No, first,
ensured they had justice.
First of all, it is a disincentive. Now, you know that the processes that led to the arrest of these bandits is not an easy one. First of all, a lot of officers were killed in the attempt, police, soldiers, and what have you, you know. And then, just like you mentioned, the judges, the prosecutors, and all those, even the local vigilantes who played a role in their arrest, you're putting them at risk. I mean, there's no way they are going to come out and then they just believe that everything is Hosanna, that all is going to go. No, no, it doesn't go. Um, you've said it all. There's bound to be some kind of reprisals, you know?
Now, the fight against terrorism is
Yes,
actually on the desk of the
yes,
National Security Advisor.
yes.
But surprisingly, it's like the NSA is quiet. Is it that he's not involved, or he's trying to say, okay, let's see whether Katsina is going to be a good test case or something? By way of some permutation, let's think aloud.
Let me tell you, I've always had this opinion that the security as apparatus is not widespread enough. Because if we put everything, all our security, I don't want to use that word architecture because it's overflowed. You see, I think time has come for us to have what we call a central, an equivalent of a central intelligence agency. Not necessarily manned by military people. I mean, Army, Air Force, Navy, or police. A lot of people in civil society, because you see, if we begin to discuss asymmetric warfares, asymmetric warfare means that you can easily melt into the crowd. You can use, you engage or adopt styles, that is unconventional. The implication of that, or what it should, the pointer to that is that the security organization should be given a face very much in alignment with civil society. Because you see this esprit de corps thing, where the chief, where the national security advisor, Army, Air Force, Navy, or whatever, very well compartmentalized. But we need a face where you don't even know those who are sifting the information, those who are processing it, analyzing it, and then desk officers, not necessarily military people. The National Security Advisor's office is too narrow for a country with a population of 250 million people plus, and with diverse stakes. And you see, let me give you an example. During the hunt for Osama bin Laden, of course, you know where he was hidden. He was so smart. He was hidden between military barracks. And the military, the army, the Air Force, the U.S. Marine, and so many other security apparatus, the man virtually melted into the crowd. It took a lady from unorthodox security outfit that said, there's this building where nobody goes in, nobody comes out, and yet it's so grandiose. She was the one that called the attention, of the what is it called, Anyway, the
The CIA or something.
no, that she's from the CIA.
Okay.
You know, of FBI, not the FBI, the military structure. You know, and for a lot of time she was doubted. He doubted her and said no. Till one of them said, okay, let's give her a chance. That's how Osama bin Laden was arrested. Now, just suppose that in a situation like Nigeria, if a civilian were to come and say, "Oh, look," say, "What do you know? You are not an, you are not an army general. You are not air force. You are not this thing." No, they won't even listen to her, and that is the bane of problems we are having about security in Nigeria. Remove this organization, give it a national spread, bring all kinds of people that are nondescript, people you would never imagine as security officials. Not the ones where everybody's wearing a badge, wearing a star, wearing all the paraphernalia of this that makes them easily identifiable. As long as we begin to have this kind of structure, identifiable structures, won't be dealing with security, serious security matters that needs undercover perspectives.
So,
Yes.
what's your thinking when it comes to rehabilitating terrorists? First, you arrest, you calm them, you begin to de-radicalize them, and so now people are saying it's like they are being treated with kid gloves.
Well, you see, there's nothing wrong with rehabilitation. But rehabilitation will be something you are willing. You will be the one seeking it as grounds for negotiation to say, please, I don't want to be involved. And that means your structure is completely decimated. Your, your hope, intention of even wanting to belong to such organization will be foolhardy. It will be so obvious to you that you won't survive, you know, by your engagement with that kind of organization. And that means that you would have seen a whole lot of detrimental firepower. The kind of firepower that even in your dream, when you think, of belonging to such organizations, you wake up and say, because you know what to expect. Then you can begin to talk about reintegration, yes, forgiveness, reintegration, rehabilitation, and all the arrows. But then it would be because you know and you have begged and you are ready to sacrifice with everything that is dear to you. You don't go and negotiate and begin to, as a first option. The first option, you say, oh, no, it's never done. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. You see, we have a clear example. If you see the fight with the Palestinians and the Israelis, of course, you knew what happened with the bombing in Qatar. That Hamas, one of the Hamas leaders who was there, when he survived that bombing for months and then he wasn't himself. When they now brought up the option of the negotiation with those Hamas leadership and all, they fell in line. Immediately they were able to give up, and then that was how the peace this thing was achieved. you know? Yes.
So in the case of Nigeria,
Yes.
will you want that kind of a hardline posture, no negotiation, no, let's go kinetic, we don't have to go softly. What's your approach?
No, I have not. Mind my words. I have said, what I'm saying and what I have said is yes, non-kinetic measures are applicable and they will work well only if the people, these insurgents, have learned their lesson. You don't give it to them on a platter of gold with kid gloves. It won't work because the necessary lessons wouldn't have been learned. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, because A guy, you pick some few guys, like some few guys who have killed a whole number of soldiers, people who plant IEDs and whatever. In terms of equipment and personnel, they seem to be virtually holding the aces, and then you now come to them and then say that, okay, we forgive you. No, sir. It's too early in the day. It's too early. The lessons have not been learned.
Yes. Now, before he became Minister of Defense,
Yes.
CG Musa, Chief of
Yes.
Defense Staff, then actually said the civil authority, I mean civilians, will have to also play their role very well,
Yes.
because he will ask, soldiers do not sell petrol. So where do these people get their fuel
That's right.
to run in the bushes? You know, soldiers, I mean, do not, I mean, how do they get medication, medical facilities,
Thank you.
for example?
Yes.
So the role of civilians will have to come in. Then food supply. How will you
bless
stay in the bushes without food? So,
God bless you. You see, that is why I am talking about the decentralization of the so-called intelligence and as intelligence gathering structure. So it falls back to what I said now. If you remove, if we have a central intelligence agency equivalent, just very much like the American system, you will find that these things are, it's like second nature, because every operative, and this operative, you don't know, they could be the market women, they could be the wheelbarrow pushers, they could be all kinds of people you would never imagine. They will know people who are buying foodstuffs in commercial quantities. They will know people who are buying, let me just put logistics in commercial quantities. Where are they coming from? Where are they going? It's just like a whole lot of times we'll hear our military officials will say, "Oh, we engaged these people, we killed some of them, recovered 10 for AK-47, some motorcycles, and then the rest fled into the bush." Each and every time you read about such things, don't you ask yourself questions? Fled to where? In a proper organization, you fly to the end of the world. Let's look at the militaries elsewhere. How do you tell the Israeli army when they're in your pursuit, you got they engaged with you, cross sword with you, and then they recovered it, and then you fled to nowhere. To where?
don't you think it also has to do with the topography, the vegetation, the
Look.
area?
Equipments,
If
various kind of equipments take care of all kinds of topographies anywhere in the world. The swamps, in the marshy areas. Okay, what we can talk about is that our military are not well funded. They are not well equipped to deal with these challenges, you know. But I know with the right kind of training, with the right kind of support, equipments and otherwise, let's start dealing with the situations where you don't escape and escape. You escape to death. That should be the logical conclusion.
yes,
You don't go to nowhere.
yes. Now, still talking logistics
Yeah.
that sustain the insurgency.
Yes.
Now, how do we check? Let me call it the avalanche of motorcycles just entering this country anyhow. And they are so crafty now. They don't need tires that will have to use tube. We are told at the point they put racks, just torn clothes to serve as a tube, so that they don't waste time. Should you have a flat tire? I mean, why is that? Is there no intelligence to check all of these things?
You see, Nigeria for a very long time we've had about a lot of ungoverned spaces, more so in our places in the north. I mean, you know it better than me. A whole lot of things about Nigeria will have to change. Also, in the areas that are most affected, the way we think, the way we deploy government resources. It has to be a complete kind of orientation. You know, this attitude of, I call it let my people go attitude, where you see things, you don't observe things, you are not critical about some of your actions, you know. And that is why you have spaces like this. You know, the day the government wants to deal with this, in comply or in cooperation with the people. I guess that's what the chief of the Honorable Minister for Defense was trying. That security should be everybody's project. You know, we don't. If look, what is the population of our army? Look at the figures. I'm not sure we are even up to 1 million, even 2 million.
Yeah. Well, the late Lagbaja
Yes.
was saying that if you combine the conventional
Thank you.
forces, Army, Navy, Air Force,
Yes.
then put police, then all the paramilitary.
That's right.
That they were still around 1 million. For a population of
probably about 1.5 million, under 2 million, let's put it that way. But again, you're looking about the a population of 250 million plus. You're looking at the land space and of governed borders and everything. For us to expect magic from them, it's like we're asking too much, really, without government doing their own part. You know, government has to do their own part. The kind of equipments and technology that have to be brought to bear in the fight against all these challenges that we are having. It's not what we are doing now. It's just a drop in the ocean. It's not, because you see, oftentimes I see people when they look at the military budget, so let's even say 1 trillion. What is 1 trillion naira in dollar equivalent? You know, it's nothing. And then in war, we've been fighting this war for more than 15 years. You know what? I mean, in a day, you could fire 1 million rounds of ammunition. Yeah, you can. Not to talk about it, you can bring in about 10 armored trucks today and they're ambushed, they're bombed, and you have to replace them. So at the end...
And every bullet is dollars.
Is dollar, or signs as it were. So you find that the military must be equipped as if, you know, I've experienced situations where the military, you probably get jobs of about, say, $10 million, $20 million. But in Nigeria, equivalent is a lot of money. And people are shouting, oh, this is... Now, imagine countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like some in the Western Europe, Qatar and all this. They are placing military orders. You're seeing about $1 billion. You're seeing about, it's conservative, let's say about $500 million or whatever, for different kind of platforms. And then you come, you say you want to buy ammunition, you say $5 billion. They probably say, please, take a back seat. You know, please, let's deal with serious people. You know?
Meanwhile, in Nigeria, some people are, oh, the military
of course,
has
then they will come with all
taken
kind of policies,
the
government
entire
to government,
budget.
government to government, this and that. You first of all bring this before they give you 15%, you do that before they... And then, no serious company will really take you serious. And that is the truth.
Let's go on a very short break
Yes.
so that maybe you sip some water.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking with Larry Imoukhuede, a security expert.
Thank you.
And we're looking at security or insecurity in Nigeria. And by the time we come back, we are seeing that a former chief of army staff, Tukur Yusuf Buratai, Lieutenant General, is saying that, look, as it is now, the military has overtaken the police in terms of police duties. So he would want a situation where the police will be at the forefront in the fight against internal security. We'll come to that after this break.
Okay.
My name is Ben Sherman.
Each week, one program, the most gripping crimes, the stories you won't forget. Crimes of the Week on Third Eye Africa TV. We give you stories as it was reported. Stories from the Nigerian police, NDLEA, NAPTIP, the EFCC, NAFDAC, and the ICPC. My name is Margaret Adewale. Watch Crimes of the Week only on Third Eye Africa TV every Sunday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Star Times Channel 146. Join us.
Welcome back. Yes, like I was saying, there are calls that, look, the military should begin to take care of the borders so that internally the police, the DSS, they should take care of that. Immigration, I mean, we should be doing some jobs that ordinarily soldiers should not be doing. So what is your take on all of that, that the police should just be at the forefront now?
You see, in other climes and other societies, different jobs are well streamlined. Like you have the Coast Guards, you have the Navy, you have Rangers. You see, first of all, in the military, of course, you have the paratroopers, you have mountain soldiers. I think they call them Rangers or whatever. It depends on the topography and the terrain. I don't believe that we should just have this holistic adoption of our military expertise, because one shoe does not fit all, Of course, you know about the Marines, you know about the SEALs, you know about, of course, the Delta Forces and all. We must have different segments of not any time we have. I have been a proponent. I have always been a proponent that our military should not be called out. They should not be called out anytime we have challenges. Most of all these interventions, if we have a well-trained, properly trained and equipped, special forces in teams, they deal with these challenges. Then they have support. In a well-coordinated operation, the special forces, they deal with this because that is what they are trained to do. And this is born out of serious intelligence gathering. You would have gathered in so much information about your adversaries that you don't go in blind. And when you go in some kind of surgical operation. You deal with it, get back, and then the regular forces in charge, either the police, because once you have secured the space, once you have dealt with the challenges, if it is the police that is going to secure the space, if it's the mobile police, if it is the coastal guards, or whatever, that one is secure, then you go back. But to just bring all the conventional forces all the time without that necessary expertise, no, that is not how it's done.
Yeah. Some people will say it's because it has graduated from low intensity conflict that would have been left for the police. Now, by the time you bring gun trucks, you are rolling the tanks, the helicopters, surface to air missiles, air to surface, all over the place. It's no longer a police matter. What's your take on that?
You see, it's exactly what I've just said. The wounds were allowed to fester for too long. That is almost becoming gangrene, cancer, sort of. When this thing started, this so-called insurgency, minor, this or whatever, that is when we should have dealt with. But again, when we get emotional about seeming problems, and then we bring in all the factors, either region, religion, ethnicity, and what have you, then this thing it begins to grow. It went to a stage where it has grown almost out of control. So for it to be dealt with, we have to remove all the emotions, remove all the sentiments, then bring all the different variants. Probably we have started really dealing with it. Then it's when we have to talk about this non-radicalization, reorientation, and into society and what have you. But the way it is now, when that is the first carrot that we're offering, that, oh, let's, you back to the point we made when we started this discussion, you were putting the cart before the horse. You will be dealing from a position of weakness, and all you are doing is buying time. You are going to face the challenges much more stiffer again.
Yes, and there's this criticism that the period of late President Muhammadu Buhari, there were no police recruitment. If you check outside what Tinubu has just done now, where you now have recruits, you could see that inspectors were just doing security guard men opening gate, and when the role of an inspector in any police force, it's not just a pushover kind of a thing. But some again, people come in and say, okay, do more recruitments, even with the army. But you can now have the problem of barracks. The National Assembly will wake up and say, move barracks to Benue, move barracks to Southern Kaduna, move barracks to Enugu, move barracks to all sorts of move. Now, we are the personnel. And in terms of training, it's not.
You see, we're very used to this fire brigade approach. That is in Nigeria. That is how we seemingly deal with very, very serious problems. I want to disagree with you that right from Buhari's time, right from Obasanjo, even preceding that, as our population was growing, we weren't building the facilities, we weren't building the infrastructures, we weren't building all the different support services that we needed. That has to do with the military, that has to do with the air force, that has to do with the virtually everything. Now that we have faced these challenges, we are making a mistake again. In other words, we are just buying people and offering them as sacrificial lambs. How do you expect a policeman? Let me tell you, policemen all over the world, they are human beings. What separates them? What separates the New York policeman, the British policeman, is training and continuous training. If you look at the way our army is structured, from the time you become an officer, a second lieutenant, till you become constant training, retraining. That's why you can see a difference between the military, the army, so to say, the Army, Air Force, Navy, and the police. The police, this training is stagnated. And of course, the figure, the troops, is not in tandem with the population of this country. So, what I want to advise again, I'm very, very critical, because the other day, they were talking about forest guards. You just recruit people, you give them one kind of weapon or whatever, and you take them to this thing, they are going to be mowed down.
In fact, some were killed
Of course,
some days behind.
and whatever. I mean, you're just offering them to be slaughtered. Look, let's stop this fire brigade approach. Recruit people, give them training upon training, first year, second tier, third tier, all kinds of training, up to the highest level, then don't expect that tomorrow when things calm down, that, okay, every other thing stops. No. With or without war, training is a continuous exercise. The process that brings out one special force officer, you can't even imagine it. That is why in numerical strength, the damage and the skill acquisition of one or two special forces is more than 10, 50 conventional forces. I am still of the opinion that it's not every time you deploy forces. There are forces that are trained for scenarios and situations like this. We must begin to upgrade their training with or without challenges, so that any time we have skirmishes like this or all this kind of this thing, when they deploy, they never fail to deliver.
And that was when they had these mobile police and squads or
That's
squadrons
thank
here and
you.
there.
Yes, then yes, and of course they must be very well motivated, because there are people now. Okay, like all these vigilantes that we are recruiting, you give them people, but who wants to go and die for you? Who really wants to go and die for you? That is why I say, because you see, these guys are products of the society. Now, they see our politicians, they see the rest members of the society living with so much affluence and so much grandiose style and whatever, and then you are negotiating the salary of 100 or 70 and this thing, and you give him a gun and you expect him to go and die for you?
But don't you think the government has started a bit? The police colleges are now becoming,
Yes, yes.
and new army depots are being created.
Great. That is a very good initiative, and we must commend Mr. President for
Then
that.
barracks must follow.
Of course. But you see, let us not just give it a face value kind of attention. You know, good, you have built barracks, upgrade the training, uh, take it to a different level to meet the modern challenges that they're expected to have, and let it be from stage to stage to stage to stage. And it must involve every tier of either the police, the army, and what have you. And it must be a continuous and a ceaseless exercise.
Now, also look at talking politics this time around.
Yes.
You go to the National Assembly, a lawmaker stands on the floor of the assembly and simply said, "Look, create barracks, send these soldiers to this place," without looking at what you call the budget and the budgeting system. You are saying military should move to that place and station there. Where are the equipment? Where's the money? Meanwhile, the budget didn't foresee that. So, aren't we also playing politics here?
I like to believe that the military authorities, they must have anticipated situations like this, and consequently must have made the budgetary preparations or allocations for it, because it's not everything that you anticipate. But as part of sound administration, you must know that things will come that is outside your purview now, and when it comes, you must be able to meet the challenge, and so consequently, you make allowance for it. You know.
Now, let's come back again to the civil authority. Even in villages, you hear of situations where somebody just appears. There's, medicine store here. They are virtually buying everything. Provision store. Someone is buying and packing them and just
Yeah.
ready to give you money.
Yes.
Shouldn't there be the alarm system that they've seen some people?
I told you just now that we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. Now, most of the people we call our security operatives, you find them in major cities and wherever, and they are quick to announce their presence everywhere. But that is not how it should be done. It should be expanded. It should be expanded to the nooks and crannies of this country. That even, you see, again, it goes back to what I said about a centralized kind of civil national intelligence agency. All these things are not done. The National Security Advisor, if it is done, it doesn't have a kind of widespread approach. You know, if we see security from a centralized point of view, and sometimes, or most times, the man from the Central Intelligence Agency will disagree with the FBI, and because our own approach is that all agree, and then that becomes a no. There are people. We must create a system where there can be disagreements, because it depends on their perspectives. Okay, you are seeing it this way, I'm seeing it the other way. I painted a picture of the lady who pointed out things that didn't look normal to her. But in a military structure, they probably say different. Because nobody knows it all. No one man holds the aces. Because if we have a centralized intelligence agency manned by civilians and people who know their onions, every village, every village, every hamlet in Nigeria, even the man who is selling drugs, even the person who is selling you kunu, he has some kind of security training that will be able to report to his boss, his desk officer, and then down the line till he gets to the man at the top.
We're getting very close to the end.
Yeah.
But you see, let's look at the journey of these terrorists. When I say the journey, when they struck and are positioned today, you see, from northeast, Yobe Borno, the northeast got engulfed.
Yes.
Then they moved to the northwest. Now, it's no longer not just Boko Haram alone. You then have the Islamic State of West African Province, ISWAP.
Yes.
Then you move in, the Lakurawas also came in.
Yeah.
Then you now have the Mahmudawa. And so at the point they said they entered and showed love. Entered and said they could protect the locals there. And the locals accepted. Was it not at the point a security failure, intelligence failure, human intelligence, that some people ought to have seen this, some people ought to have alerted some authority to the extent that they then started saying, pay taxes. You can't go to farm unless you pay this. When you harvest, they say we must buy them at a rock bottom price. So, I mean, isn't something wrong with intelligence failure or something?
You said it all. You said it all. You don't need any kind of answer from anybody or anyone for that matter. You see, when you operate what I call posh room, or kind of five-star intelligence gathering, from kind of edifice don't make intelligence. I hope you know. It's not the edifices that you can build one thing with all the wires and everything. The truth is that power is too centralized in the hands of one man. It should be spread, it should be dissipated, and it should have a trickle-down approach or a grants-up approach. And like they say, every politics is local. So that intelligence gathering must start from the local environment. If you don't have a structure that gives you that feedback, it will be a big waste of time, and you will always have challenges like that. It has to do largely with the way we run things here.
Now, let's look at the way things are also run in the north when it comes to security, internal security. 19 northern states, including Abuja, will make it 20. People will say, let's have state-owned police. But you see that the north that is worst affected is for dragging. What's wrong with the north?
I wouldn't know. I want to be politically right. I don't want to say anything that will annoy anybody. But let me put it this way. Some people are just selfish. Let's put it that some people are. Maybe, I don't know if this kind of government that was run in the north, is it aristocracy or whatever? Because it's like some people up there have everything. Few people, and while majority have nothing. I think that's the only way I can put it. And it's only a matter of time. In the 60s or whatever, okay, it was expedient for everybody to bow, to the whims of one man or one woman, and then the Rankadede thing. But now, I mean, the signs are on the wall for everybody to see. Those guys they used to take for granted, they've woken up from their slumber and they say, we can no longer live like this. They want to have a share and a taste of the pie. And they've tasted it and they said, oh, this is what you enjoy? We won't live like this anymore. So something's got to change.
And now they are pushing
That's right.
to the south.
Yes.
The south has come with Amotekun. But again, you could see that the Lakurawas and Mamuda, they tend to be moving to the Yoruba states. So what urgent steps should be taken finally?
A stitch in time saves nine. Certain incidents brought about the recruitment of Amotekun and the operatives or whatever, because they said necessity is the mother of invention. And they found that there were a lot of people that were suffering, a lot of people casualty, dying and everything being taken, kidnapped and what. And then they didn't need to be told that they had to set up a kind of defense mechanism. Now other places are taking the cue, But understand that we are one country. Because we are one country, that is why it's a huge challenge. Because you really don't have a right to stop another man. Say, why are you coming to my space? So again, back to intelligence gathering.
Exactly. Now you're seeing people in trailers.
That's right.
The cows are under, in the trailer, but up there are planks, you see people.
Yes.
At the point, the people said, no, we don't trust this.
Even at
now
that,
some will say, no, there has to be free movement of persons, goods and services.
Even at that, they have rights. They have rights. You just can't say because they are moving in droves, with cars and whatever. If they are Nigerians, you'll be stepping on toes if you really stop them.
Some states have started profiling people.
Yes, they have. But even then, they are careful about it, their approaches. You see, because if you don't handle it with care, okay, now these people, they come from a destination. They're coming from a destination point, or maybe they're coming from Katsina, they're coming from this. And then you profile them and say, oh, they can't come. Your cars, and until you see weapons and stuff. You can't just be suspicious to say, oh, if you don't see weapons, because the day you begin to stop them, so maybe arbitrarily, then the man in Kano or Katsina or whatever says, what about your people that are in my space here? You see where that's where the challenge is.
Well,
it's crazy.
Big challenges,
Yes.
and maybe with time, Nigeria should just adopt state of residence and not state of origin, so that we'll begin to resolve some of these.
No, collectively, we must find solutions to our security challenges. Collectively. Because what affects one affects us, all of us.
An injury to one is an injury
That's
to
right.
all.
It's our common destiny.
And it is here that we have to end this edition of
Thank you.
the program. And we want to thank you, Larry Imoukhuede, for coming a security expert. You've done justice. As we say, proudly we are Nigerians.
Thank you. God
Thank
bless
you for coming.
Thank you.
My name is Ben Adam Shema.
Okay.
I keep it here for you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.